Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to the Wild Rift patch notes for the new patch 5.3a, the first patch for season 15 and also for this big patch that came around, patch 5.3. First thing to start things off, we have the release date of Ambessa. Ambessa will be coming out on the 7th of November. Ambessa is a brand new champion in both PC League of Legends and Wild Rift. They'll both be releasing at exactly the same time. Super excited to see how she's going to fit onto the Rift. If you didn't see already, I did a guide a few videos back with all the English descriptions, combos, an early build, and so many different options of what you can do when playing Ambessa. So if you want to check that out, check out my previous videos and you'll see a full Ambessa guide there. The events, we have the Battle Challenge events and also the Ambessa Challenge events. So you get some cool champion poses and some extra rewards. I have to say, so far, the events have been really good. There's been a lot of free rewards, obviously, because of the 4-year anniversary. There's a bunch of free skins. So make sure you log on to the game and make sure you redeem all of your awards and you collect all of your rewards, because there's a lot of things that Riot are giving out at the moment, which is a good sign compared to how much the gacha system was kind of ruining skins and other free bonuses in Wild Rift. And then we also have Arcane, Battle of Twin Cities. You're either the three-ring progressive city of Piltover or the dangerous undercity of Zorn. Choose a side and fight for it. This is very similar to the choosing your side before. I think it was with Kale and Morgana, if I'm not mistaken. You could choose a side, you get levels up, you have to try and progress, and whoever wins gets bonus rewards. So that's pretty cool. Another Zorn versus Piltover battle to see who's going to come out on top. For me, God, it's a close one. I actually don't know who I'm going to pick. I love Zorn, to be fair. I mean, Zorn is very difficult not to pick. I'll probably go for Zorn myself. Let me know if you're going to pick Piltover or Zorn in the next event. All right, on to champion changes. Quite a lot of cooking happening with champion changes this patch. There's a lot of good nerfs that have come around and also some decent buffs as well to some champions that maybe didn't need to receive some buffs, and some champions probably need a bit more buffs on top of that. And I think Miss Fortune is one of them champions that I've always said multiple times how Miss Fortune is just in a very difficult spot just because of her playstyle and the way she plays. She can't really get too much of an advantage in the laning phase unless you can land a lot of your first ability. But when it comes to team fights, her damage is just not as consistent as other AD carries, especially, you know, these crit AD carries, these on-hit AD carries that are auto-attacking a lot and doing a lot of damage, whereas Miss Fortune is more to do with her abilities. The problem is with things like bullet time, you're standing there using your ultimate, which just does a lot of damage, but if someone flashes away or if they dash away or dash towards you, you're just pretty much completely vulnerable and you're going to die very quickly. But anyway, the mana cost of a double up is going down by 10, which is really nice, and this is at all levels as well. So you'll be able to use more of your first ability more during the laning phase. Use this to poke a little bit more during the laning phase as well, which is quite nice. And also the attack damage ratio is going up for double up. Note that none of the ability power ratio is going to be going up in any of this, so AP Miss Fortune is still the same. This is more to do with AD/crit Miss Fortune. So yeah, AD ratio going up, which buffs the AD build for Miss Fortune. AD ratio again going up with the bullet time. The damage of each wave is going up by 10%. So overall, it's probably going to do quite a lot more damage with the ultimate, because again, this is damage of each wave, not damage of the whole ultimate itself. And also the critical strike damage is going from 120 to 130%. So this just warrants you more wanting to build towards crit with Miss Fortune. I probably will test her out tomorrow. I'm definitely going to be streaming on both Twitch and YouTube tomorrow to test out these changes, test out what it's like. So we'll have to see how that one goes. Veigar, I honestly don't think he really needed a buff, to be honest with you. I think Veigar was in a fine spot. I think the downside of Veigar is that you have to farm up quite a bit and you have to play for your stacks, but his cage, his third ability, which got buffed multiple times over the past few months in terms of the cooldown and also the stun duration, if you can use that for zoning control, and you can do a lot of burst damage. But you're getting more stacks now from your passive when you take down an enemy champion, which doesn't happen too often really during the early game. This will kind of help a little bit during the mid and late game when you get maybe a few takedowns with your ultimate when you have enough damage. The first ability is going up in terms of the ability power ratio. Looks like the base damage is not being changed at all, so more scaling on the first ability. So more IP you build, the more damage you'll be dealing. The second ability, the mana cost is going down by 10 at every single level, so you can use this a bit more to poke and do a bit more damage. And also the AP ratio, again, going up by 5% for the second ability. So two of Veigar's main abilities that he's going to be using to both clear the wave and also to deal damage to enemy champions are both getting buffed in terms of the AP ratio. So it's pretty scary for late game scaling of Veigar. Again, another champion that I'll probably try as well. Pantheon's getting some pretty scary changes. You'll probably see with the items later on as well why this is even more scary, and I'll talk about it a little bit later on with the items. But Pantheon, the cooldown of the first ability is going down at every single rank. The damage dealt to enemies with health lower than 35% is going up. You can see the base damage has stayed the same, but the bonus attack damage ratio is going up by a whopping 15%. So that's kind of crazy to see that, hey, when champions are super low on health now, you're going to be doing a lot of damage. But also they're buffing Pantheon in the jungle as well. So now you can deal 110% damage to monsters instead of 100% damage. So it's like a 10% damage increase to monsters in the jungle. So you can help clear with Pantheon and give him a bit more time to roam around and try and make gank. So again, I think it's going to be a very, very scary pick for this patch. Galio have pretty much every single ability is being lowered in cooldown, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. First ability going down in cooldown, by the way, late game, 3 seconds. 3 seconds different. I mean, it's not even late game, it's like mid game, because you always max your first ability first. It's gone from 10 seconds down to 7 seconds, and now it's 7 seconds on your third ability, and your ultimate is going down by 10% as well. So this combo that you can do with like your taunt, your third ability plus your first ability, you'll be able to do more often, because both the first ability and the third ability is now going to 7 seconds in the late game, which is absolutely crazy. And overall, Galio's damage is still really, really nice when you're going for this full AP build. So again, this is another very scary buff. The Galio's AP ratio is already extremely high. He still already has that one-shot potential there, and now he can do it more often thanks to his abilities going down in cooldown. Swain's getting a little bit of an ability power boost. This isn't a tank Swain boost. I mean, I think definitely the most popular Swain build right now is building a lot more tankiness with like Twin Guard, Heartsteel, Rylai's, Liandry's, Rod of Ages, you know, items like that to make him a bit more tanky. But they're trying to push him more towards the AP side of things. You can see here the AP ratio on his first ability is going up, and also the ultimate, the AP ratio is also going up by 5% as well. So boosting up his AP ratio might make players build more ability power on him, maybe make him a little bit less tanky, maybe just ignoring the likes of Heartsteel now. You can still put like Rylai's, Liandry's, etc., because these items will still give you ability power, which will still benefit Swain, but maybe this might push people a little bit away from the tank side of things. And also the health regen as well. I didn't see here. Health regen per second is also going from 15% up to 20% ability power. Gragas, by far one of the strongest, if not the strongest junglers at the moment in the current meta. It doesn't matter what you play against Gragas, you will just get one shot. This champion does way too much damage, so no surprise that his damage is being nerfed. Both his base damage and also his ability power ratio is going down on his third ability, and the same again with the ultimate as well. The ability power ratio is going down from 80% down to 70%. You're still going to do quite a lot of damage with your first ability and your second ability, especially the empowered attack. The third ability going down it might help a little bit. I still think Gragas is going to be incredibly strong. I don't think like 10% AP ratio on both his third ability and his ultimate are going to do much, because again, as I mentioned, you still do a lot of damage with your first ability and your second ability, but it might help, it might reduce his jungle clear ever so slightly in the early game since the base ratios go down. I still think Gragas is going to be in a great spot, and I still think he's going to be a great champion to play. The Donga, I mean, are you surprised that the Donga is getting nerfed? Probably not. I mean, the Donga is pretty damn OP right now. First, second, and third ability are all being nerfed. So his turret, his damage dealt per turret on hit is going down. The base damage is going down. Again, this is damage dealt by turret on hit. So this is per auto attack of the turret. So this is going down from 23 down to 3, which might not seem like a lot. But again, this is per auto attack of the turrets. So the base damage is just going down of the turrets. And also the laser damage also going down in terms of the base damage. So it's overall the base damage. They're still trying to keep the scaling of Heimerdinger, which I think is really nice. But again, it's just the base damage go down means that you're not going to be doing as much damage with your first ability. Same with the second ability as well. Base damage is going down by 10 at every single rank. And the third ability as well, the base damage is also going down. Not actually going down at max level, but definitely being nerfed quite a lot in the early game, going down by 15, which normally you go for your first ability max first into, I believe it's your second ability. It could also be third ability. I can't remember which one gives you cooldown. But it's either one of these that you max second. But whatever you max second or whatever you max third, you're still getting a pretty big nerf anyway, because this is going from 70 down to 60, and this is going down from 85 to 70. So either way, you're going to be losing quite a bit of burst damage with Heimerdinger, whatever ability you max second. Mordekaiser, some of you might have seen my games from a few days ago. Mordekaiser was in a great spot. Again, no surprise really that he is being nerfed. His passive damage per second on his AoE damage around him is going down. The AP ratio is going down, and also the 0.5 per level is now going down to 0.25, and the base value is going from 4.5 sorry, up to 4.75. So it gives him the same amount of power, basically a level 1 in terms of the base damage, but then it just goes lower and lower as time goes on, because you're only getting 0.25 per level, whereas before you was getting 0.5 per level. So it's still trying to keep that same early game, level 1 power. Cooldown of the first of the second ability, is going up by 1 second every single rank with it, which is a shielding, so you won't get a shield as much. And also the third ability, this is the pull that you can pull towards you or push away, being nerfed in the early game, but it's going to be staying the same at late game. So actually not really too much of Mordekaiser really got nerfed if you really think about it. Cooldown is not too much because this is just 1 second difference. Late game with your third ability is just completely fine, and the passive damage is just going down ever so slightly, 5% AP, and then your base damage is going down ever so slightly, but you're still going to be doing quite a lot of damage with like your first ability and your third ability in general. So it's probably going to be more important now to actually hit your abilities rather than just standing there and trusting your passive to do the most amount of damage. Gameplay changes. You notice how I giggled a bit. This is wild. By the way, this has been needed for such a long time. I'll get to that in a second. Love these two changes. These two changes I'm not too sure about. Okay, let's talk about it quickly. So at the moment, when you build Mortal Reminder or Serrader's Grudge, the Last Whisper passive gives you between 16 to 33% armor penetration. This is based on the time of the game. So for example, if you was to build this item as a first item at level 5, for example, you will probably get around 20% armor penetration. This does also increase over time. If you build this later on, like say a third or even a fourth item, then you're probably going to get up to the 33% armor penetration. The scary thing now is that whenever you buy this item, you will now always get 33% armor penetration. Now, this doesn't mean that you should buy this as a first item. However, I could see this being a thing where AD carries and also AD assassins in the jungle are now going to be building this item as a second item. The 33% armor penetration, having that much armor penetration that early on is absolutely crazy. If an enemy champion builds like armor boots or any sort of armor items, even if they don't build armor items, you have to remember that every single champion in the game has base armor and also armor per level. So they're still going to be stacking up armor per level, and then the armor penetration is just going to help you negate some of that armor. So this is a pretty crazy change to try and bring Mortal Reminder and Serrader's Grudge push forward into the meta and trying to make these items built a lot earlier than what they already are. I still think Mortal Reminder is 20 times better than Serrader's Grudge, just because of the anti-heal that you get with Mortal Reminder, and also you have the crit with Mortal Reminder as well, which even if you don't build 100% crit, 25% crit chance, hey, you might get lucky one day and getting crit, and that could be a difference between you killing someone and not killing someone. Whereas the slows from these Serrader's Grudge, it's maybe not that important. As I just mentioned very briefly, these two changes are absolutely amazing. Terminus has been a strong item for such a damn long time. I mean, you can see there, great item that provides both attack and defensive stats. The damage that you got was absolutely insane. The on-hit damage as well. The defensive stats you get in terms of the armor and magic resist was just way too much. Nerfing this by 5 AD might not seem like quite a lot, but I think it actually might be quite a lot because it's already one of the most expensive items in the game, and now it's only given 35 attack damage. I think it's great. This might not be a first item worthy anymore for AD carries such as Kai'Sa, etc. We might have to test out some more builds to see what's an alternative that we can build except for Terminus. Wit's End, again, another item that has been a very strong on-hit item. This is pretty much negating most of the magic damage being dealt from enemy champions when you're playing someone like, again, someone like Kai'Sa or any sort of on-hit champions at all, because a crazy amount of magic resist that he was getting. That has been nerfed from 50 down to 45. And look at this, the at Wit's End passive, before you dealt 15 to 80 damage, which again, this is based per level. Now it's going from 15 down to 65. So per auto attack now, you are losing 15 damage in the late game. That is per auto attack. That is not just a flat amount per fight or anything like that. This is per auto attack, which is a really hefty nerf. 15 less damage per auto attack. If you think of how these builds work with like Terminus, Wit's End, Ruinous Hurricane, Lethal Tempo, your purpose is to auto attack a lot, and you're going to be dealing less damage by 15 per auto attack. I would say that you roughly auto attack between 10 to 20 times. So you might be losing between like 150 to like 300 damage per team fight, which again is going to be pretty big. Obviously, you got less magic resist, you got less attack damage now from Terminus. So overall, this is definitely going to be nerfing on hit champions overall. And again, this has been a long time coming. Great changes. Absolutely love this. System changes, they're nerfing some of the chain lightning effect of the Hextech Elder Dragon. To be fair, I've barely seen Hextech Elder Dragon being taken, and even when I do take it, I don't really see that much difference from the dragon before, but it's going from 100 down to 80%, 50 down to 30%. When dealing damage, cool down the chain lightning on the target. The chain lightning ricochets nearby enemies, dealing 100 to 200 true damage. Okay, so they're nerfing the chain lightning on single targets and multiple targets, but buffing the ricochet. The chain lightning hits only one target, then it deals a bonus of 100 to 30% true damage. So it's more to do with the AoE damage that they're buffing, and they're nerfing the single target damage. There you go. Hextech Mimics have been upgraded. Taking down Hextech Mimics will automatically bring them to players, to a team, and a system. I'm pretty sure this was in the last patch. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when I started playing this patch, I was thinking to myself, when Hextech Mimics got taken, didn't they mention in the last patch that they would automatically go on to champions? And then I realized that I still had to collect them. But now they're actually doing it. So then after defeating the Hextech Mimic, all allied champions gain the Hextech Mimics automatically. Dual lanes gain 2 Mimics and other players gain 3 Mimics. Great. Means I don't have to walk back to the tower, get the Mimics, and then walk to the tower. If I've got pressure in the lane, that pressure is going to extend thanks to the Hextech Mimics. Hextech Toolkits, the de-acceleration ray, probably the weakest one out of all of them, to be fair, because it only dealt damage and slow to enemy champions. Now you can deal damage and slow monsters as well, so it can help you also push a wave. Galio's Aegis, this was already in the game for quite some time, so yeah, make sure you're spamming games. Make sure you try your best to get an S rating to prevent a loss. Make sure you get an A rating to try and get 50% more compensation. And again, you need to be platinum above, max duration more than 600 minutes, and no negative behavior. Do we have a... No, we don't. Wow, we don't have an Ambessa skin. Battle Mess skins are going to be really cool, by the way. These look really, really good. Battle Hound Fiora as well. Primordium Aatrox. These are going to be great. Obviously, no ADC skins, which are going to be great. I'm probably not going to get the Prestige version because they are way too expensive. But big things happening. Again, Ambessa is coming out next week. It will be in a week's time. The next Thursday, that will be when Ambessa will be released. I'm super excited to try Ambessa. Again, I think she's going to be absolutely amazing. Let me know what your thoughts are of the new patch in the comments. I think this is a great patch overall with some much needed nerfs to some champions and also some items, and maybe a bit of switch up in the meta with some of the buffs as well. So hopefully you enjoyed this rundown. Take care of yourselves. Have a good rest of the day, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.